Hello, happy Friday, everyone. I hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful day. I am going live today with one of my Reiki Mastership students. So Patty finished her Mastership in, maybe January or February this year. And I'm super excited to chat to her today about what she's been up to since then, because she has evolved so much in her in her healings, her abilities, her spiritual connection and development. So I'm really, really excited to chat to her today. Hello. Hey, Anne-Marie. Hey, everyone. Before I go any further, I know someone is going to ask me where I got my crystal crown from. It is from Soul Quartz. Highly recommend. They're really beautiful crowns. And you can also get a heap of crowns on Etsy as well. I always get asked these questions, where to get crystal crowns from. So there you have it. Go nuts. Hi, Jackie. Okay, Patty. Here you are. Joining in. Let me just get her on. Let me see. Here we go. There we go. Let me see if this works. Yay!
Hi!
Hello!
How are you?
Oh, I'm good. It's so nice to see you.
So nice to see you.
I was just thinking, did you finish your mastership in January? Was it February?
I finished it in December, but we didn't do my graduation until January.
That's right.
Specifically, so we could do it in light language, I feel.
Yeah. Right. Oh my God, we have to talk about all the things. So Patty, you're on the Gold Coast, aren't you? Yeah, amazing,
Yes.
beautiful, sunny, up north. And you are. I just wanted to check. You see clients online and in person up there, or are you just doing in person at the moment?
Predominantly just online, but I do have a space to do in person as well.
Okay, amazing. That sounds so good. All right, cool. So do you just want to introduce a little bit about who you are and just, I guess, a bit about your journey, and we're going to take it from there. But I'm so excited to talk to you.
Sure. So I'm Patty, obviously, and goodness, my journey. So I started my journey with you about almost 2 years ago now. But prior to that, I was in AA actually. So I had in the past a problem with alcohol, and it led me into the rooms around about COVID time. And my first sponsor in AA was one of your students. And I had always wanted to do Reiki, and I'd never really had a Reiki session before. I didn't really know much about it, but I'd looked into it in the past, but I had never really gone anywhere. And anyway, she basically said to me, you should go and learn through my teacher. She's amazing. And so I enrolled in your level 1. And that was the start of really propelling me into a whole new world and a whole new dimension.
I remember it was really big for you, level 1. I remember having a chat to you on the phone, maybe like a couple of weeks later or something, and it was huge, right? It was you really unearthing stuff and facing a lot of stuff, and I guess that's what that's what Reiki can do. But I remember talking to you about, that idea of not to be afraid, like you can take this as deep as you want to, or you're in control of it all the time. And hopefully I think that helped you a little bit, just to feel a little bit more like, okay, I don't, I get to delve into this as deeply as I want to, or I can, chill out a little bit and take this as slowly as I need to as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely was in complete denial at the start that this would, you know, be anything other than me just being curious around like my own journey and my own healing. But I also feel like the magic of that has allowed me that like I'm constantly on that journey of my primary focus is to be the clearest channel that I can be so that I can show up from a space where of discernment.
Ah, love that. I love that
From
so much.
love.
From love.
But it's so wild to reflect on that journey and the fact that I, you know, sat in that room with people and, you know, we went off and we did our own little self-healing journey and we came back and I can remember a woman sharing about, oh, you know, I experienced this light beam that looked like this. And you're like, oh, I think that's a star seed. And I was like, what are these crackers on about?
And now
So
you're a cracker. Yay!
now I'm a cracker and I love it. I'm embracing the cracker. But, you know, I'd come from a human biomedical science. I'd come from 7 years in corporate advertising. Like you know, just, I had, you know, I would have said I was spiritual, but I didn't really know what that meant, you know. And I feel like probably AA was the start of opening myself up to that because it's like it requires some kind of concept of a higher power, which my belief now is that is just a connection to my higher self.
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. That is just so beautiful. I love that so much. Can you talk a little bit more about, I guess, what it means to be a clear channel? Like what does that mean for you? And I guess what, you know, how you go about, I guess, committing to that on a, you know, on a day-to-day basis. Like what does that actually mean?
Great question. uh, For me, specifically at the start, like when I noticed, when I started working with others, you know, the clients or, you know, the people that come into my life, they will often trigger stuff within me because it's like perception is projection and everyone, it's my belief, is a mirror to what is within me. And so being a clear channel means that I have the capability, or as clear as possible, because I'm never going to be, you know, it means that I have the capability to discern between where I need to heal and look at my stuff versus where I'm showing up for someone else.
So good.
And so, you know,
So
things
good.
around self-healing practice, like I'm so grateful that that's kind of how my journey started, because it's like I talk to a lot of people who do Reiki, and I know we've talked about this in the past, where it's they don't have a self-practice, and it's, if I don't have a self-practice, how can I show up in that space and know what's arising in me because of my belief system, my patterns and my past, and what's arising in me because of the experience with this person, you know. And I truly believe, like, when I heal, you heal, and when you heal, I heal, and it's a collaboration, you know. No one, when it's my responsibility to move through my own stuff, and I can hold space or hold a container for someone else to do that, but no one's ever going to move through anything that they're not ready to and that they're not doing themselves.
Oh, gosh, yes, yes, yes,
This is a proud teacher
100%.
moment for you.
You have been taught so well. No, I love it. It's so important. It is just really important. Like if we don't know ourselves, we don't have that deep level of awareness about ourselves. You're absolutely right. How do you know when you're projecting, or how do you know when you are, you know, just not even showing up in your authentic truth, or being of service in the best possible way? And, you know, as you so beautifully put it, being the clearest channel that you possibly can be. Oh, it's amazing. It's really, really awesome. So your self healings have, oh, sticking with that, so your self healings have obviously evolved over time and probably don't look like they did anymore in level one, right? Starting with position 1, then 3 minutes, position 2.
And only music, like you have to have the music, and the music has to be perfect and on point.
Actually, you bring up a really good point, because that was something we had to, obviously, if you'd like to share a little bit more about that, but I remember working with you on this idea that things have to look a certain way, or be perfect, right? And I totally get that, because very similar. It took me such a long time, the same thing, to allow myself and give myself permission to color outside the lines, so to speak. That was something that we had to work through, and I think lots of us do at the start, especially if it's something that's not very familiar to you and you're coming into having a spiritual practice. It's quite a new thing for you. You have it in your head that you want to do it perfectly, that you want to do it right. Otherwise, you're scared that it's not going to work, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about that? And I'd love you to talk about how, when you let go of that, what has happened now.
This has happened. Yeah, no, I held on to that belief for a really long time. And I would say, and I think with everything there's always layers. But I would say really properly letting go of that has really been quite recent. And it was a realization recently where, I'm such an advocate for people, particularly showing up in like the self-development, like healing, coaching, whatever that space, where it's like, we're all human and we're here to have a human experience. And, I'm never going to fucking be perfect, but I'm going to show up and do the best I can with what I've got, and wherever possible, lead from a place of love. And I found myself having all of these conversations with other people, like sharing that with them, like, you have these amazing gifts, you have this amazing capability, like, use it, step in, like, you want to help others, and, don't stop waiting for this space where, you're healed or you're perfect, because it doesn't come. And it was just this realization of like, oh wow, I'm still doing that. I'm still holding myself back in my business. I'm still, doing things in secret, where it's like, people will share something with me and I'll be like, oh, you can call me, or I can help with that, or, I speak light language, or I do this, or I'm a Reiki practitioner, or I'm in AA, like all of these little things where I'd be like, just in secret, not ever really opening up about it, because I was still holding myself to this standard that I had to be perfect in that space. And, it's never going to really happen. It's never going to happen, but also it's all perfect, right?
Exactly. It's just the perception of perfection, right?
Yeah, but yeah, that was a huge thing for me, that I wanted proof. I needed to understand. I, in the beginning, really relied heavily on like those different guardrails of like, what's the process, so that I know that I'm getting it right. And yeah, it was just really getting to a space of accepting that I'm doing the best I can with what I got. And for me to show up for someone else, or to help someone else, or to be of service, that person really only needs to be, one step below where I'm at, or, waiting for a hand. And all I have to do is put out my hand. If they're ready to take it, then I can help them.
Oh,
While they help
yes.
themselves.
Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And you can see, like, when we hold ourselves back, you stop that person from potentially, co-creating some magic with you and them moving forward. And yeah, it's just so beautiful to hear you really coming from that place of acceptance of, I'm doing the best that I can, and that's actually perfect in itself.
And I'm stopping myself as well when I'm not doing that, because I'm allowing that person to show me what it is that's the next level of my healing journey, or the next layer that I get to peel up. Like, it's an opportunity for both of us.
Yeah, it's always like we're always healing together. I think with our clients as well, they're always providing us new opportunities to level up, or to learn and grow and evolve, and yeah, become a better practitioner, a better teacher, a better space holder, just a better version of who we are, and unearthing new gifts. And some of the most incredible moments of mine, that where I have unearthed gifts, or like come out with a new skill, or remembered something from an ancient kind of past, or something like that. it's been during a healing session where I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, I didn't know I could do that.
How cool is it, right?
It's so cool. And it's like I wouldn't have had that opportunity to grow and to step into that hadn't I, had fully shown up the best that I can in this session with this client. So yeah, you're right. It's just so beautiful. We're all the exchange is always there with our clients.
That actually just made me think about as well, like this, the first session I had booked in with a paying client and how much fear I was in, to the point that I'm sure that you remember this, but I was a mess, crying, terrified, thinking I do not know how I'm supposed to show up for another person when I feel like I'm not even showing up for myself right now. And, in so much fear around that. And, it was such an opportunity to, I guess that was one of the other layers of like learning to, that it's never going to be perfect and it's never going to be exactly right, because it was like this opportunity to move through that and get to a space where I could show up to the best of my capability and hold space for that person and trust that it was perfect and exactly as I was showing up was what they were requiring in that moment. But it was a huge opportunity for me to feel that edge and to step over it.
I love that. I love your reflection on that because very often I think same as that idea of I don't know enough, I haven't had enough experience or done enough courses, or I haven't followed the book to the T, to a T. All of those thoughts can stop us, but so can the oh, but my stomach doesn't feel 100% today, or I've got a bit of a headache, or I've had a limiting belief this morning about myself,
Yeah,
or I
I'm
hadn't
not good enough.
I'm not good enough. All the things. Yeah. Whereas, like you said, when we really just start trusting a little bit more and stepping into that place of, no, I've got this. Like I'm really trusting that I've got this, and whatever is meant to happen will happen. Whatever is meant to be experienced will be experienced, and it'll be so perfect for both of us. And that doesn't mean that you don't have challenges, that everything goes so smoothly and there's no challenges and that sort of stuff. But you have to just accept and be really trusting that, yeah, it's always perfect, however it is, right? um, so tell us a little bit now. You you talked about how at the start, you felt like you were spiritual, but um, didn't really know what that meant, or you didn't really know what that, I guess, what, not just what that meant, but what it looked like for you and how spiritual you could really get, and unearthing those parts of you. Can you talk a little bit about how that had changed over, I guess, the your Reiki journey, and then after that as well, what's kind of been unearthed for you? Because it's just changed so much, as does happen with a lot of people. A lot of people coming through the Reiki journey go through their mastership, and the mastership, I think for you and for many others, it tends to be this let's open up the trunk, let's get rid of all the junk, and then it's like now we're ready to really soar and really unearth like these parts of us that have just been waiting to come through. Can you talk a little bit about your journey and how that's sort of been for you?
Yeah. I mean, I guess what actually first just came to my mind is, going back to that AA journey and the requirement to have a concept of higher power. It's like you hear the word God in the rooms quite often, and like to give you a grasp a concept of like how foreign that was for me. Like I'd been to, a Catholic school through primary school and through high school, but it was actually to the point where my sponsor at the time was like, just get on your knees and pray to a wall. Like, I don't care what you're praying to, like the actual action of like just doing it, just fake it. Fake it until you make it. And that was literally what I was doing. Like I was faking it because I was like, I don't know what this is. And I don't know that this is a thing. But I'm so desperate that I'm going to just give it a go. And I feel like that has been my evolution of opening myself up to, different dimensions, different concepts of reality, different timelines. Like it's wholly been through my own experience, and that's why the self-healing is so important. It's because through my own experience of meditation, through my own experience of like self Reiki, through my own experience of like prayer, like miracles, that is where my belief came from. It was like this thing of, particularly like through meditation and self-healing, it's like when you've had those experiences yourself, or when I've had those experiences myself, it becomes difficult to then be no longer a believer. And so it just kind of, it just definitely evolved. And I definitely feel like one of the other things that really helped me to trust in that were things like kinesiology, or, I did work with a sex, love, and relationship coach who she did some NLP stuff and a lot of like body work, where it was like dropping into my body, listening to my body, like asking what that is or what it's there for, and responding with those unconscious mind answers where it's just automatic. And as that trust has like developed, that was also a way for me to kind of validate what was happening for me on an energetic level, or on a multidimensional level.
Oh, it's so good. So good. I love how you just talked about the body piece, because very often we can separate, when I talk about you being a spiritual being, it's about the whole self, right? It's about encompassing all aspects of who you are. And I think that if you are separating those things, like if you are just focusing on the body all the time, or just the mental, or just the spiritual, like or just the sexual, just every aspect of who you are, you can get to this place where it is really disconnected. But it's so beautiful for you to bring all those parts together, and as you just said, like all of those allowed you to come into this space of wholeness, right? Returning you to this real place of wholeness where you're able to really be connected to that, to all of that you are, which is so amazing.
Yeah.
What a journey.
What a journey. Yeah.
What a journey. So after we finished your mastership, you started to tap into light language.
Yes.
Yes. just before your graduation, because then
Just
it made your graduation so much more fun. Can you just talk about that? Because I know a lot of people are curious about what is light language. Like, how did yours? One of the questions I get asked a lot is, how did it come through? Like, how did it activate? Can you talk a bit about that as well? And the question I want to know too is, do you feel like it could have come through not having have done all the work, all those different parts of who you are? Like, when it came through, do you feel like it came through at that specific time for a reason?
Yeah, I would definitely say, my belief is that light language is, the highest vibration, the highest frequency of communication that I can have at this point in time. And I feel like for that to come through for me, I had to really shed a lot of the density that was like weighing me down. And I had done a lot of that in the past, in the lead up to the end of my mastership. But I had essentially a bit of what I would call a rock bottom around the time that we were finishing our mastership. And what that space led me to was this whole new capability to see the beauty in absolutely every human experience. And I don't think that I had ever had that prior. It was like I could appreciate that the pain or those experiences were there to teach me something. But I definitely feel like when I was in that space of hurt, or those lower vibrational emotions, I definitely could step back into that space of being in my victim around, like, why is this happening to me? And I had a couple of things in a row happen. And I just remember like being on the phone to one of my mentors, bawling my eyes out and saying to him, when does it end? Like, when does the pain end, and when does this stop? Because I feel like I've, done so much to get to this point, and how am I still, after 2 years of really heavily delving into everything, how am I back in, or not back, but how am I feeling like this still? And it was in that moment that I really was able to see that my ability to feel that deeply and that much pain and hurt was also a direct reflection of how much love and joy and just pleasure in life that I could hold. And so even though I was in that really what felt like a dark space, I could still see the beauty in it. And I feel like,
Because I just wanted to stop you there for a moment, because like thinking about your past, you would never have allowed, there was a long time there where you didn't allow yourself to feel that stuff, right?
yeah, no.
So it's so incredible for you to be able to be in that. Not that it would have felt like it at the time, but it is incredible, to be in that depth and be feeling all of that stuff, and you to be in this space of actually just allowing yourself to feel it, to embrace it, and to experience like everything that that was coming up.
And grateful. Like, I was so
Yeah.
grateful for it in that moment, and I wouldn't have changed anything that had led me to that space, because I could see it was like, I've had this described to me before from a teacher, where it's like, the greater connection I have to like my highest timeline, or my highest purpose, or my highest self. It's like you're kind of like this eagle who you can see yourself wandering through the forest, and it's you sort of know what's happening. And I feel like I've got into that space where it's like things happen and I'm like, I kind of saw how this was going to happen, or it happens and I can see why, I can see the reason.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel like that experience allowed me to kind of really lift myself, and allowed me to open myself up to beautiful new gifts like light language.
That's so beautiful. So beautiful.
And yeah, I can remember, so I was sitting in a meditation, and I basically just started having like different sounds come through. And then I, picked up a pen and I started writing. And I actually sent you a voice note of like what I felt. Am I speaking gibberish? Like, what is this? What is this language like? And then for about 2 weeks straight, all I did was just speak light language. And one of my other teachers actually said to me, he's like, you're recalibrating, and so you just need to allow it to come through. And the more that you push it down, or you don't allow it to come through, the longer the process is going to take. So just embrace it. And thankfully, so much of my community and my friends were, really comfortable with it. Like, both my housemates at the time just listened to me wander around the house for about 2 weeks, just like not speaking any English. And one of them had heard of light language before and one of them hadn't, and they were both just so loving and so accepting. And that's been really like my experience for the whole way through, actually. And any of that fear of judgment or rejection has predominantly been, or it has been, what I put on myself.
So beautiful. So beautiful. I always find that a lot of the judgment, the stories are usually our own,
No,
because
they're always our own, right?
like the when we really like talk to people about stuff or share things, very often. So yeah, yesterday, just a really funny story, but
I
yesterday,
was hoping you would share this story. Yes.
so yesterday I was getting a bikini wax, and and my beauty therapist starts telling me that so I don't really know her that well, and she was just, I knew she dabbled in a bit of healing and stuff like that. She's got like sound bowls and stuff. Anyway, so there I am on the table when she's waxing me, and she starts talking to me about different frequencies and stuff. And then I mentioned about light language, and she just starts telling me that she thinks that she didn't know what it was, but then she starts telling me as I was explaining to her, she said, oh my God, I think that I sing. I think that I sing light language. And so there we are, just having this beautiful conversation about light language and all the beautiful things and how great it makes her feel. And we were just, yeah, it was so nice to be having that conversation. And I actually said to her, I said, why don't you do more of this work? Like, why are you kind of just stuck doing the waxing and stuff? And she said, oh, you know, she was a little bit fearful about coming out of the spiritual closet. And I think a lot of us are like that. I know when a lot of students come through level one, especially, and even level two, I mean, I was exactly the same when I started on this journey. But what I have noticed time and time again is that the more that we start to open up, others are mostly just curious. And if they're not just curious, they're really accepting and they're really you know, they're really supportive about you kind of unearthing all of this stuff, and because they get to come along for the ride, right? And usually we're enabling others and activating others at the same time. So it's really beautiful. I think that if you have a voice and you have the courage to step even a little bit into that space, like give it a go, because you never know what, you know, what you're going to be met with on the other side. Most people will surprise you, I think. So beautiful.
Yeah.
So nice. So now now you're also helping others with, you know, with I guess them stepping into their gifts and unearthing and supporting their light language and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like it's been such a beautiful opportunity for me when I've stepped into this space, because you know we had little groups with a few different people that were already like able to speak it, or you know you actually put me in contact with one of my dearest friends who I'm sure I've been here many times with, who you know she speaks language, and one of the first languages that I had come through was Lemurian, and that was what I you know felt quite connected to from the beginning. And what that has kind of allowed has been this beautiful opportunity for us to play with it. It's not just this like serious thing that I would use in a healing with a client. It's like it's also so fun. And you know you also experience like things like the portal parties, and like you know just really having an opportunity to find like the joy and the pleasure in it, and not just have it as this like serious thing. And there's you know funny moments that come out of that as well, like you with your bikini wax, or you know I remember one of the first times that I spoke light language in someone that wasn't in front of someone that wasn't part of my close knit community was I orgasmed with a guy I'd only you know met a few times, and at the end I started speaking light language, and I can remember putting it in the light language group going, hey guys, like this has happened. And my limiting belief around that was, you know, who is ever going to, like in the past, who was ever going to want to experience that? And you know the truth is that there are some people that love that. And you know I think it's really important to speak about all aspects of coming into these gifts, and just bring back the lightness and the funness and the humanness, because like yeah the work is at times really arduous, and at times it's really scary, and at sometimes it can feel hard, but it's also so worth it, and
Yes.
it's so much fun. And you know there were times where I'd be like, I would in the past I'd say, you know, I don't want to live in two worlds anymore, like I feel like I have to choose one or the other. And the most freeing and beautiful thing that has happened to me is realizing that I don't have to choose, I get to be all of it. And
Yes.
and that's amazing, and I love to be able to share that with other people and to give them permission to do the same.
That is amazing. I love that so much, Patty. And just the fact that you've stood in that. And, you know, here you are coming from your corporate world and your, you know, your science
Human
world.
biology,
And
biomedical
yeah.
science, and wanting to be a doctor. to
And
just come step into my office and I'll give you some energy healing and we'll do some NLP and we'll be good.
I love it so, so much. It's just magical, just really hearing you and seeing you just really own who you are, totally who you are, that whole part of who you are. It's amazing, and being really unapologetic about sharing that with the world too. yeah, it's so amazing. I just, you're such an inspiration, Patty. Thank you so much. Thank you so, so much. Thank you for paving the way for others as well. You know, this, it's like you said, it can be really hard. It can be really hard work, but yeah, I think there's a really beautiful part to that, the opposite part of that, which is um, just like you feel all the heaviness, or you feel all the sadness or the grief or the loss and all those sort of lower vibrations, or just vibrations that we don't always want to feel. You know, on the flip side of that, it is just as blissful, just as joyous, you know, just as ecstatic. um, I was just looking through an old notebook the other day, just funnily enough, and I don't know if you remember, but it was like day one. I think it was maybe your first session. I'm pretty
Of
sure
my
it was the first.
mastership.
Yeah.
I knew you were just going to talk about this. Please go.
Oh my God, it was hilarious. I open it up and I remember, do you remember, like, I channeled through this beautiful, like, little phrase for you, and it was about the sun and da, 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 it was about all the light and da, da, all this stuff. And I remembered you saying, I remember you were kind of disappointed. Like, you're like, oh my God, is that what was coming through? This stuff, that I'm a light and that I'm joy, and you know, all of this, like I'm like the sunshine and all this stuff. Um and you know, that for me, like, I felt you in your highest expression on that day, and it was like, you know, I was emotional and I could feel this, like, in this, it was just so fucking beautiful and so high. And I knew that you had come in and you were like ready to do all this hard work, and you were ready to do, like, to pull out the heavy stuff, and you know, and you wanted to kind of be ripped apart. And it was just, you know, looking back now, I'm like, this is so beautiful to show you that, you know, with all of that heaviness comes also the most beautiful, the beautiful feelings as well. And we get to embrace that all, because it's all part of our human experience, right? And it's all part of who we are on all levels. It's so beautiful.
And that's definitely been the where I have found my edge as well, has been, I feel like because I really lived in that space in the past of, self sabotage, disassociating, like pushing down my emotions, like not feeling like I was worthy or I was good enough. It was like,
Mm.
it was easy for me to believe that any of the bad stuff, that was easy for me to believe. And it was easy for me to, do the hard work because it was painful, and pain was what I was kind of used to. And what has been, the freeing and beautiful experience, but also, where I've had to really push myself, has been accepting that light, accepting that love, accepting that joy, accepting that abundance, believing that I am worthy of that.
Mm.
It's definitely the places where I felt myself need to expand the most, particularly in the last, 6 to 12 months, has been not when someone said something bad about me. It's when
Mm.
someone said something good. It's when someone said, I'm proud of you. When someone said, I love you. When someone said, you're an inspiration, or you're amazing, or any of those things. It's like, those are the feelings and emotions I have had to go, okay, like, can I hold this? Um, and so, in the beginning, when that was the experience where it was like, oh, it's light and you're love and you're joy and you're this, I was like, no, where's the hard work? Like, I'm ready for the hard work, because that's like the doing. Um, and actually,
Where's
one
the
of my
pain
girlfriends,
and suffering
yeah,
that
where's
I'm
the pain
so
and suffering?
familiar with, you know?
Yes. And one of my girlfriends, really early on, actually, I said to her, I said, how would you describe me? And she said, pure joy. And I was like, I didn't resonate with it at the time, and it's only in the last, like, kind of 6 months where I'm like, fuck yeah, pure joy. Yes.
Oh my God. So beautiful. I think one of the highlights as well, you came down to Melbourne and I got to give you a real life hug.
Yes.
And sitting with you in my space and doing a little portal party and speaking light language and doing all these amazing things. And that session was pure joy. I remember just feeling super high, like it was just It was absolutely hilarious and it was so fun. But that is exactly it, it was exactly how I, you know, how I see your energy and feel your energy, and it was pure joy. It was, yeah, definitely one of the highlights working with you. It was really lots of fun. Thank you so much. I have absolutely loved catching up with you and doing a little trip down memory lane.
Yay. Thank
And it's so
you.
awesome to be able to share you and your gifts with my community as well on here. Um, please follow Patty, get in touch with her if you are in the Gold Coast or if you are wanting to work with her online as well. Um, and yeah, I can't wait to just keep watching everything unravel for you. I love you so much.
I love you. Bye.
Bye.